Hey guys, it's Matt. This is going to be an all over the place rant about what I heard about or what just happened to me today in terms of this list. But if you're not interested in that sort of presentation, just hear the story. The first, I'll do it right up front. What is currently happening to Pam's sister in her Andy Dufresne prison cell in Hawaii because her paperwork was out of order. The world it is now, we have crossed the line. Um, Based on what happened to you just today, Matt, yeah, I was holding out hope. I was trying to be a glass half full guy. But based on what happened today, the line has been crossed. There is no going back. The world is insane and the cement has hardened. Now that sounds like terrible news. I hope we get a chance to talk to about it. It's not terrible news. It really isn't. If you if the insane asylum tells us a whole lot about ourselves, and if you back up far enough, it's actually very good news. If you're close to it and you're in the middle of it, and all there is the world and your daily experiences in it, and you have no sense of larger self, it is bad news in terms of the day to day. But that's not even one millionth as important as the whole. So it sounds like when I say the cement is hardened, the world is an insane asylum, there's no going back. It sounds pretty bad. It sounds pretty bad, but it's not. It really isn't. I'm not sure if I'll talk about it in this video, but it's not. It's good news overall. Good news. Yeah, it is. Okay, Pam's sister. Okay, let me just spend 45 seconds setting it up, and then I'll go into the story. She lives also in the Philadelphia suburbs. They're a middle class family. They don't, not a lot of money, not poor. For years, she'd go out and clean offices in the middle of the night. Three kids, two out of the house, one still in the house. Okay, so they heard they were going to Hawaii with it. I think two other couples, and all have these timeshares. One couple couldn't use their timeshare. I don't know if it's in Oahu or what part of Hawaii. So they went to Pam's sister and said, "Do you want the timeshare? We can't use it. It's gonna just, you might as well go use it." She's like, "Yeah, I'll go use it." So they're gonna, I don't maybe meet the other couples out there. It doesn't matter. So it's Pam's sister, brother-in-law, her husband, and the kid who's going to be, I believe, a junior in high school. He plays on the football team. He's a good kid. So, of course, they have to get, Hawaii is very strict and stringent. You need certain paperwork. You've got to be tested within, 48 hours of flying, something like that. Hawaii is very strict. They're quite proud of their ability to keep cases under control and quite proud of the ability to keep people screened and quarantined and all this stuff. So, okay, so I don't know, I think she went to her doctor and they got this paperwork and so they get to Hawaii. Now, for those that aren't aware, it is 5.5 hours to fly from the East Coast to Los Angeles. Some people will go through San Francisco to Hawaii, and it's such a hard ass flight. A lot of people stay over one day and then fly the next day. I think they went straight through. 5.5 hours to LA, stop over, another 5 hours to Hawaii. So this is minimum. If you're talking about time on the tarmac and everything, you're talking minimum 12 to 13 hours to get out to Hawaii. So they get out there, they present their paperwork. And, these officials at the airport, or I don't, it's like, you need to go through customs to get to Hawaii. It's one of the 50 states. I don't know, but okay, now you have to go through customs, I guess, if you come from the mainland. It's supposed to be one of the 50 states, and we're supposed to be, quote, American citizens, but your paperwork, it's like Captain Ramius in Hunt for Red October and Vasily. No papers, Captain? No papers, Vasily. No papers. So your paperwork, miss, is not in order. Like, what? We just flew. We just spent 13, 14 hours or whatever flying in from Philadelphia. Include the car ride down, 15 hours, whatever. What do you mean my paperwork? It says I was tested. I don't have it. Take my temperature. It's all here. It's from my doctor. This is the form, right? Like, yes, this is the form. Now, Pam's getting this from another relative who talked. No, it's actually Pam's niece, her daughter, the woman stuck in Hawaii. Says there was one section of the paperwork, like a box or something, that was not filled out properly. And like when I say that the world is to cross this line has been crossed, in addition to everything being insane, all common sense is now is gone. It's very similar to what I noticed when I talked about Canada, and Canada being just the same as any socialist part of Europe. The meme on it, or what I came up with when I talked about Canada a few months ago in that video, you may remember, but I came up with this about I guess almost 15 years ago. So what's different about this place? And everybody that's in any sort of a large corporate job or a government job, and there's a lot of people in, say, Quebec. I was going back and forth to Montreal that work for the state or for the city or for the large airport, which will act just like a government. And it's do your job, but nothing more. However your job is defined, do it very competently inside that box. But if there's a situation or somebody needs assistance or it's outside, no, we can't help you there. So it's do your job. But see, that whole philosophy, that whole and it's beyond socialism. I believe in the download. It's beyond brainwashing. It's beyond any sort of technique or means or technology we understand. I've talked about people getting the download now. What I said that 8, 9 months ago, I believe it much more now. The evidence, I have hundreds of examples since I floated it of people taking the download. So anyway, back to they're at the airport and they're like, one section of this paperwork, and luckily, Pam's nephew, who's going to be a junior in high school, his paperwork was fine. It's like, well, why is his paperwork fine? And I don't have a clear answer on that, but his was fine. But it's again, they're not sick. They had no positive test. One little section of the paperwork. It's like, well, what do you mean? We have to meet this couple, that couple, go out to the timeshare? Well, they were going to spend one night in this hotel. Okay, and then maybe drive the next day. I'm not sure. So like, well, fortunately, that is a hotel where we can queue teeny you, and you're going to have to stay there for 2 days. It gets worse, guys. It gets worse. 2 days. It's 400 and some. You know how expensive Hawaii is. So expensive. Just like everything is 400 and some dollars a night. They were going to stay there. The whole, the three of them, whatever. Like, well, 2 days. Yes. So somehow, so they get out to the hotel. And at this point they think it's just going to be 2 days. They're escorted by the security Gestapo. That's just there's not military police that show up to guard outside their door, but the hotel security keeps their distance and walks them up to the room, and they're just tainted. Or they're not nobody's sick. Like, well, I'm not sick. I'm take my temperature. It's like treating like lepers. Put them in the room. Now the kid who has his paperwork's in order, like he's healthy, magically healthy. He has his own room. He can't be with the parents. I guess they were all going to stay together. You could get a cot or whatever, and then they would get up the next day and drive. He's in his own room. But again, nobody's sick. See, it's just a paperwork error. Well, we have to, we take in Hawaii, we take this very seriously, and we need to take your key cards. So it's like, so if we walk out of the hotel, the door will close and lock, and they won't be able to get back in their rooms. And so we're going to take your key cards. We're not going to post security outside your door or everything, but you cannot leave this room. You cannot affect and taint other patrons in this hotel. This is not a medical isolation wing like that Dustin Hoffman movie. What was it called? Outbreak. This is, there's other guests. You must stay in this room. It's a paperwork error. Nobody's sick. No, okay, nevertheless, 2 days. Okay, the next day, they find out that it's not 2 days. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. What? So I think they figured initially, from what I heard from Pam, they figured that, was it? Yeah, I guess it was over the weekend when they arrived, and it's like they couldn't get a hold of the doctor. It was Sunday, and they like, look, 2 days, and they could see it's like putting your hand up to the glass. You could see the beach, but you can't experience it. It's like you're in a prison. And it's like by the time we get this worked out, whatever, it's like, we'll be out of here. 2 days, whatever. Get room service. Phil, who, the son, he can go to the pool. Then we'll meet up with the other couples. Well, the next day they find out it's not 2 days. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. What? It's ongoing. The lockdown. So at this point, they're like, well, we need to, what do we do to correct the paperwork error? What's exactly missing? And then they try to contact the doctor. Well, Can you refill out the forms? Why this didn't take 15 minutes to refill out the forms and to get the new forms faxed from the doctor's office? I have no idea. It was something about there wasn't an indication they were going to travel. Something. This is what Pam said. There, something about the word travel. Something was missing from the form. I don't understand it. But her point was like, well, of course they're traveling because they just flew in after flying with the ride to the airport for the last 14 to 15 hours. So then they're trying to contact the doctor. Now, why they can't just get this paperwork update, I don't know. I just don't know. But they were trying to contact the governor's office of Hawaii for some reason. These are the same types of stories. Like if I decided to backpack across Afghanistan and something happened, I'd be like, I need to get the consulate. Where's the embassy? It was like a Turkmenistan. They threw me in a Turkmenistan prison. Like, well, does the U.S. have a consulate in this country, or Kazakhstan? I could, all you have is Borat's sister. She's number three prostitute in all Kazakhstan. So it's like they're trying to get some like diplomatic support from you're in the United States. You're not backpacking across Afghanistan. So now this is ongoing. I think Pam said it's been, oh, I guess, I don't know. Like tomorrow will be the fourth day, or I don't. But basically, it's possible. She was supposed to be there 7 or 8 days. It is possible at this point, and she doesn't have an update. It's possible that they will be confined to the hotel room for the entire vacation. Now, this thing was supposed to be $400 and some a night, and they weren't allowed to go out to the timeshare. And like, but they're going to be. Pam says, but they're but her niece, the daughter said it looks like they're going to be allowed to leave. They're going to be allowed to leave. U.S. citizens are actually going to be allowed to leave a state and go into another state. Oh my gosh, they're so lucky. That's incredible. They're going to be allowed to leave, and they were told if they are caught out, it's a $5,000 fine. Now, if this is not by itself, the world has reached. Again, people screaming at me, Matt, we reached this insanity period a long time ago. I know. But my cement is hardened. It is. There's no going back. And that there's some good news at the end, and we have to have a certain frame of mind. If you want to stick with this video, I will present it at the end. I'm a big believer in this. I'll do it the last few minutes of this video, if I remember. But I don't even know what to say about that. It is along the same lines. This to me is like a litmus test for I'm going to present this story to some family members that I don't talk to much, but I talk to every so often, literally to ask if they've been body snatched. And there's one other part I'm going to present to see if these family members I'm going to talk to have been body snatched, like literally, like they're totally on the download as if they're body snatched. The other one would be, I might as well just present it now. The other one would be, I was trying to, I don't stomach the news. I try to get the weather, always catch part of a story, trying to get the weather. I don't even like, when I'm fast forwarding to get to the weather, I record, Kate Bilo, CBS, CBS 3, I guess it is, Kate Bilo at 6 o'clock. But I'm constantly like, I don't even like looking at the stories. Because once I see the weather map out of the corner of my eye, then I can watch the weather. But I always catch like a few seconds of a story, or it takes 2 or 3 seconds for the DVR to kick in, and it's like fast forward. It's like mask. Reporter standing out there. There's nobody around for like 15 football fields, and they're in their mask. But why are you in your mask? There's nobody around, dude. What is the point of this? How come people aren't watching at home? Like, why do they have the mask on all that? There's nobody there. Like nobody, but they just everybody at home, like with their TV dinners, like it's just completely normal. This is the download. The insane world is normal to these people. Like their whole reality's been overwritten with a firmware update. There's no other way to describe it. What we point out as bizarre behavior is we are bizarre for pointing it out. It is that crazy. So I'm trying to get to the weather, and I hear part of a story about Yuki Washington, CBS. He's like all proud to tell the Philadelphia audience that President Biden has extended the moratorium. He called it a moratorium, that landlords will not be allowed to evict tenants. Like, what? Landlords? In other words, the point, There is no precedent. There's no legal precedent anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world. It violates every single part of the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights, where a president can force a landlord or force a business to conduct business in a certain way. Outs Other than the businesses running illegal substances or whatever, of course, there's statute, of course, and law for that. But for a president to tell a landlord that they can't do business, that this is, I mean, it's 100% illegal. There is no other side to the argument. But when you wonder where are the millions and millions of people who should be saying, well, he can't, sitting on the couch going, he can't do that. See, our whole lives, we've learned, if you're over 40, your whole life you heard about the Constitution and how it's the highest law of the land. And every 5 or 7 years, the Super Bowl starts with an ode or a tribute to the Constitution. And it was just 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was just they read the preamble to the Constitution before the first 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights. And yeah, I guess it is. I mean, if anybody's yelling at me like, well, Matt, they haven't used the Constitution for a long time. They don't apply the Constitution. Yeah, I know that. This isn't my first rodeo. I know that. The point is, but it's so. Here's my point. It's so hypocritical where they've ingrained in us how wonderful this Constitution is and how it's the highest law, and if anything is not constitutional, it just immediately shoots the law down. And when judges go up for the Supreme Court, and half their grilling is about how they will apply the Constitution. It's just this, it's just this holier than thou document our rights rest on. And they told us this our whole lives. And Philadelphia has the National Constitution Center, this big building, and all the founding fathers. The point is, I know they don't use it, and I know it's presented as a facade or even a mockery to some extent. I'm aware of that. This ain't my first rodeo. The point is, because they've presented that message to hundreds of millions of Americans for how many years, decade after decade, why don't you have 50, 70, 80 million people? You don't need to understand every bit of the Constitution, and it's a very simple document. You don't need to understand a whole lot to be sitting on your couch going, he can't do that. He can't tell, even though, I'm a hardcore leftist liberal Atlantic magazine reader, you can't tell a landlord he can't evict somebody. The head of the executive has no power to do anything like that. The legislature, the legislative, the Congress or the Senate has no power to do that. You can't tell somebody who's been in a certain business, conducting business in a certain way, just change their business practices overnight. You can't do it. I mean, so where are the tens of millions or hundreds of millions that should be just recognizing this? This is a body snatched moment. I'm gonna call some relatives and I'm gonna say, are you for that? Just like, oh yeah, they shouldn't be evicted, Matt, considering how difficult this is on the economy. But okay, let's back up a bit. Maybe you don't think they should be evicted, so you're kind of like supporting Biden and what he's telling these landlords to do. But do you realize there's no ability for him to do that? I mean, we've been taught about this thing called the Constitution, legal laws and statutes that must conform to the Constitution. Are you aware he can't do that, especially as the head of the executive? Doesn't matter anyway. And I think the body snatch, I don't know what they would do. They would come up with some excuse. Well, Matt, this is about health. And I mean, I don't know what they would do, but this is a body snatched litmus test, the Biden thing. And and Yuki Washington's presenting it, and he says the salary they used was 99,000. 99,000. I mean, you would think it would be like partially palatable to people if it was, excuse me, a lower salary. Ugh. Tracking, testing, and tracing for Matt. Anybody that coughs. So it's like 99,000. What? Yes, if you make more than 99,000, is there something that happened to money or something in the last 10 years where that, to me, it's a lot of money. But if you make more, so you can be evicted. Or you make 120,000, we can kick your ass out. But put my boot in your ass and you're out of here. No, see, that's wrong, sir. I made 97,000 last year. You can't touch me, motherfucker. You can't touch me. I'm untouchable. 97. So somebody that made 97,000 has got like some Audi lease, and that the landlord can't kick him out. When Yuki's presenting this, Yuki Washington, he actually makes he's in the background as Brad Pitt was watching. It's a total similar truth drop to what's going on now. World War Z. First 45 minutes of that movie is very intense, pretty scary. Then it gets stupid. But the first 20 minutes of that movie, if you can get it for free or whatever, the scenes in Philadelphia, and it's very very intense, and it is like a truth drop as to what's happening now. People in that movie come completely zombified. But Yuki makes he's like on the TV behind Brad Pitt or something in one of the scenes when Brad Pitt's in his Philly apartment or whatever. But he's I thought he was going to say that it would be like a reasonable number. I'm still expecting this reality to be reasonable, like so people accept it. Oh, if you okay, so if you make under 30,000 a year, landlord can't kick you out. 99,000. That's a hardship. It's like there are people probably making right around 99,000. They probably playing games with their adjusted gross to make sure they just come under that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna, honey, if you don't take the basic deduction for the taxes coming up, itemize. Then we can actually get our adjusted gross under 99,000. Then the landlord won't be able to touch us. We won't pay rent. I mean, it's like, what the heck is going on? 99,000. So anyway, the point is there's just no basis whatsoever, and I would stake my life upon it based on everything we've ever been told about how law and the Constitution is supposed to work in this country, where a president can just make this decree. But if anybody's screaming at this presentation, like, well, Matt, there's been hundreds of decrees regarding this C thing that have all been unconstitutional. Of course. Gavin Newsom, governor of California, can't tell a U.S. citizen, and I have to use these terms. I apologize. I'm well aware of the straw man, and when that's not the most, that's not the name that you don't want to be real proud of being a U.S. citizen. I got it. You're sovereign and all that, but we just have to tell the story in the simplest way to move forward. Gavin can't tell a San Francisco resident or citizen that they can't walk outside and walk down the street. There's no legal basis for that. And I know there's been hundreds of these illegal decrees, and there's been but mostly at the local level regarding this C thing. But that is the litmus test. It's like the story about what happened to Pam's sister, and I'll say to a family member, are you okay with Biden not allowing landlords to throw people out if they make under 99,000 and they're not going to pay rent or can't pay rent? And if they're making under 99,000, let's say they make 90,000, why can't they pay rent? Did the MGM sports book go bad last week? Just put too much money on the wrong March Madness Final Four contestant? Guys, you can't make sense of it anymore. The world is gone insane, and there's no going back. It will reset. The people that will be just thrilled to reset with it will go along with everything it says as if it's normal. The download, I don't think it's an actual download the way we understand downloads on computers, but it is absolutely real, and there's no other way to describe it. That's as good of a descriptor as anything else. There's been even Rob and people have talked about. There's been a lot of people that have talked about almost like via the download, like they got a firmware update. People have just completely changed their minds. This is happening all over the place, where someone will say, Matt, my brother, he was just a couple weeks ago. We're like, he's like he might eventually go rent the Action Jacksonation, but he's not gonna. He's saying, I don't want to be, I'm gonna let other millions and millions be the guinea pig, and I don't trust it, and I don't want to have to do it. And my brother was like really in my camp. I don't have a brother. I'm saying some people have said things like this, and then all of a sudden, I'll call him up, or I called him up, and he's like, yeah, we got the Action Jacksonation, we rented it, Blockbuster. You got it, but what about the conversation we had 3 weeks ago? And this happening, I'm sure this happening all over the place, guys. And the way related to the download, how I'll describe it, is um, it's like somebody in a rushing river, and they're holding a rushing river, not the Russian River out in California, rushing river of rapids, and they're holding on, to a certain belief set, which is they're holding a stick, like a rotten stick, and they're having that conversation with you, like, yeah, I don't want to get it, I don't trust it, and but they're not like hardcore truthers. They're just people that, obviously, if they're hardcore truthers, they're going to be a little bit more resistant. But at some point, that see, when we're in the stream, it flows around us, and this is actually similar to a scene in World War, was it World War Z, where the Brad Pitt movie. The reason I mention that is the zombies, they will attack every so many people. They can walk right out through the zombies, and the zombies just walk right around them. And it's if that person has some sort of a real serious illness, the zombies almost sniff it and they won't attack them. And it's similar to, like, I was going to say, somebody's having the conversation and they're in the rushing river. The rapids are hitting them, and the force. We're in the middle of the river and it's just flowing around us. Most of us, I mean, I know a lot of people in this community will be, because of their job, if they're a nurse or whatever, if they want to keep their job, they're going to be forced to get it. But I'm talking about peer pressure or pressures of society in other senses. We're just unaffected by it. So let's just not, expand this beyond the action. Come up here, Bootsy. Stand this behind the action Jacksonation. We're in the middle of the river. It's just flowing around us. And I don't feel any pressure. I don't feel like I'm being pushed. But the people that aren't the same as us, it could be your brother, it could be the guy down the cul-de-sac, they kind of believe what we do, but they're feeling the pressure. And the point of this, and I'm being very long-winded, is at some point, what they were holding on to just breaks, and they are just flushed. They just are just swept down the river. And so that explains why you can be talking to someone who will say, well, this person, she said she was going to do everything to avoid renting the Carl Weathers movie, the fine action film Action Jacksonation. She was going to do everything to avoid it, and then if she had to, she'd be last, so it would be like not until another year from now, and after all these, let all the other people be guinea pigs. And then I called her up, and she's like, yeah, we got it, we're going to go to Disney World, so we just decided to get it. Like, what happened to what we talked about? And it's like a metaphorical. They're in the river, and the forces, even if they're not even aware of the forces, they're not aware. The stick breaks, and then they just get swept down. And it's very similar to the download. You've got, somebody might have a firewall up, and I'm not taking the download. I'm the firewall, and the download is just too much. Eventually, some of the code breaks through and starts rewriting, and these are just analogies as to how this might work. We are immune to it. We are immune to it. And I'm talking about anything that this reality presents, that we will wade out through the river. It just goes right around us. There's no chance we're going to be swept away. I'm not just talking about Action Jackson. I'm talking about anything the society presents that it's oh so desperate for people to camp onto, like the race issue going on now. And another thing I wrote down here is all the signs I passed today. Hate does not live here, and all these signs, and people that are all believing in every bit of all this cooked up stuff. Just there's a few incidences there always has been in 300. Like I've said before, in a country of 300 million people, there's going to be an incident every so often of a man trying to put a cinder block up his ass. There's going to be an incident of almost everything you possibly can imagine if you put 300 people into one country or into one landmass. So sure, there's going to be some racial, but then they'll make it seem like it's just commonplace. Oh, this is happening everywhere. And now it's with Asians. Oh, there's a problem everywhere. And look, I mean, I don't want to get into it. There's some isolated incidences. I've even come across something regarding somebody wrote across their pickup truck about where the sea came from related to a certain country, but it's minor, and the news will make it out to be the biggest problem in the world. And all these people get swept up in it. They believe everything Aaron Burnett is presenting out front, and then they get swept down the river. They take the download. They believe every bit of it, even those trying to hold on, and we just walk out in the river. And the current just doesn't touch us. Matt, that sounds awfully arrogant. And I don't know. We've dropped veils. I don't know what it is. We don't. The download doesn't work on us. It would be nice for all of us that we could do Survey Monkey at some point, saying what's the commonality. It's not blood type. It's not, oh, that's RH or negative or whatever. It's not blood type. It's not blood type. There's a lot of us don't have regular blood types, but there's certain there's something. There's something. And it could be something that there is no Survey Monkey would never uncover. Survey question 50: Are you an old soul that has done tens of thousands of lifetimes and are ready to walk out of this game experience and reunite with other aspects of yourself? Yeah, maybe that. I mean, but that would that's not gonna. You're not gonna know that. You might feel that. You're not gonna be able to answer that on Survey Monkey if you're an old soul or a new soul. So there's a lot of things that we don't. It's not. It's probably not as simple as saying, well, the group that's not taking the download, that doesn't just go along with everything Aaron Burnett presents out front. They don't have a smartphone. They have a certain blood type, and it's not going to be that simple. It's going to be something we probably might not even understand about ourselves until the day of our death or the day of our life. So guys, that's the story about the litmus test for the insanity that I'm gonna present to some family members. If for anybody interested, I will go through everything else that just happened to me today. A lot that I didn't need any more to say that the cement is hardened on the insanity, but this just adds to it. If anybody wants to continue with this video, um, driving to Pam's in Collegeville, go down to help her out with some things. They're always doing some materialistic project like the kitchen, the sink's out, the flooring's ripped up. It needs she's gonna paint and all that stuff. All that stuff that most of us just like, I don't. As long as the damn toilet flushes, I don't give a crap about. If the roof needs fixing, I need to fix it, but I'm not gonna do anything aesthetically or anything like that. And it's all trivial bullshit to most of us at this point. So I'm driving down there with all the signs. Hate does not live here. Like, oh, that person got caught up in that. BLM signs, of course, for months and months and months. I saw one reopened PA sign, which I kind of liked, and this person wouldn't see what we see, but at least they have a clue. It says, protect. I drove by quickly. It said something like, protect the vulnerable, like isolate them or keep them safe, but other than that, reopen because the economic impact is causing more issues. I forget what it said. It was reopen PA. I saw one. I was like, thank you. There's a little bit of common sense floating around. I saw, of course, a ton of heroes work here or heroes live here. I was like, okay, here we go. So this is this is just Basher from Ocean's 11, and I'm going to do it again. You don't you don't play the old gig. That's the old gig. You do the new gig. But see, this reality structure and its minions isn't creative enough to play a completely new gig. It is the old gig. They just put a different pair of panties on and they dress it up like the new gig, but it's the old gig. But they're going to present it as the new gig. It's with the 7-Eleven job application, it was bow down to the first responders, the concert for New York, which I was a believer in every bit of it. I bought the concert for New York, which I watched recently, and it is creepy to look back. David Bowie comes out, starts it off with a certain version of Heroes, and they just line look. These people, a lot of the first responders and fire people, whatever, they did lose people. Okay, in that they did lose people. They somehow they dealt. We usually say this reality needs you to do it to yourself. They cooked up real death on that day, and they're going to pay a karma price for it. You want to talk about, usually they need human beings to do it to themselves. But the concert for New York, it was all about setting the stage for the first responders, and that was the main theme that flowed through the first gig. The 7-Eleven is a part-time job. Now it's similar. It's the medical workers are the heroes. And it's just a dusting off of the old first responders gig from the 7-Eleven job application 20 years ago. It does seem to be exactly like Livette talks about 20-year cycles. She says regarding Saturn and the Jupiter conjunction, just running the same type of gigs every 20 years with a little bit different spin, but it's this, if you go back, or at least if you go 2 cycles back or 3 cycles back, oh, it's just this, oh, that's the same gig, they're just running it in a different way. The script has just been changed a little bit, but it does seem that where you, at least most of us can see right through it. We can see those similarities. So the point of me mentioning that was the signs. The heroes work here, and that's the script, the slight change of the old script that's being run now. A couple more stories from the list. What happened to me or today? What I heard about today, and then we'll wrap it up. About the time I started talking about the download and people just literally taking a download, some sort of it's some sort of means or technology, or spell, or something dark we don't understand, why people are just like body snatch and go along with everything. Talk about that at some point again in the future, but there's no doubt in my mind there's something there's something at play here we don't understand, because there's just no other explanation on how or why people are behaving the way they're behaving. Like somebody can learn about the Constitution their entire life, be well versed in it, and just ignore everything that they've been presented their entire life, and say, well, it's very righteous and just that Joe Biden is protecting tenants from landlords. Just what? So that's that sort of thing. There's no other way to explain it. So I'm going to continue to call it the download. But this story, I guess the reason I'm saying it, when I started talking about that, it was about the time that I remember the story I told where I guess it was probably April or early May of 2020, and there was a place down at the Marchwood shopping center very close to where I live that had outdoor tables. And I didn't plan on going inside. You may remember me telling the story. I just took like 3 steps or 4 steps inside the ropes to sit down. I was by myself. They have good, roast beef sandwich or whatever. And the waitresses were like, just, to make a long story short, they came like running up to me like, "Sir, if you need to be, if you're gonna walk through our restaurant, you need to have a mask." Like they were like kind of very aggressive, like getting in my face. I'm like, well, this isn't the restaurant. You have outdoor tables in the parking lot. They're allowed to do that with these barriers, and I'm not going in. I'm having a quick, you know, cheesesteak or whatever I was going to have, and I'm just 3 steps inside your rope, and I have my hand on the chair. And the one waitress, remember, I'll just wrap the story up because I told this months ago. The one waitress was like a real young girl, and she just, I guess, wasn't confident enough or didn't take the download long enough to be highly aggressive with me. So the other waitress, who was in her 20s, came over like, "Sir, you need to, I hear the conversation. You need to be wearing your mask." I'm like, "I've just took 3 steps inside your rope. I'm 40 feet away from your restaurant. I'm in the parking lot. I just want to sit. Will you allow me to pull my chair out and sit down and just eat?" "Well, do you have your mask on you?" "No, I'm not. It's in the car." It's like, so I'm like, so what, long story short, she was like aggressively like challenging me, like, quote unquote, like getting in my face. Like, it was just like, what? So I never went back. And, when I walked away from from that place, and I was like, this place is going to be out of business. But somehow, like, for some reason, nobody goes out of business. I mean, there's been a lot, I know, some pain, but guys, considering what is going on here, we should be smack in the middle of 1929 times 10. And the economic effect has been extremely minor, at least what I've experienced here. It is a reality breakdown. Let's just leave it at that, and move on. But the point is, Pam had a story where it was very similar. She, down by her place, it's Trapp or Collegeville, Pennsylvania. Excuse me, Trapp or Collegeville, Pennsylvania, and it's this place called the Trapp Tavern. Come here, puss. Don't step on my keyboard and turn the recording off. The Trapp Tavern, and so they're waiting. I guess it's actually that the Trapp Tavern is one of the few that really still does a booming business. And there was an empty table, like they have an inside that they call outside because they have it surrounded in plastic, but they allow air under the, that's how they get around it. It's when Pennsylvania didn't allow indoor dining, these restaurants made these outdoor areas surrounded with plastic, so you're basically indoor, but there's like a little bit of air, so they call it outdoor, but that makes it okay. And the V then won't strike. Like it was all nonsensical jury rigging to conform to the regulations. But there is a true outdoor there too. And I guess they're waiting for a table. I don't know the whole story, but she says, like, the bartender comes up. Excuse me, these cats. Oh, jeez. I used to be allergic, but I'm doing much. I mean, I'm not allergic anymore. It's amazing. I used to be highly allergic 25, 30 years ago to cats. Something happened where now I'm not. Very fortunate. She said the bartender comes up and says to her, like, girls, she came for two, I think, with two other girls she hiked with. You're very close to this table here. Now you do understand, Puss gets. I'm sorry. Um, these are long hairs, and the amount it doesn't look like they're throwing anything up, but like if you see in the sun when the sun beams in, they shake. There's like thousands of things fly up. It's amazing. I can deal with this, considering how I used to be with cats. Um, the bartender says, "You do realize if there were people at this table here, you couldn't be standing so close." And Pam, again, this is my, I say, my matrix friend, and even she's pushing back. She's like, because she's heard so much from me over the years. She's like, well, okay, if there was somebody at the table and they're outside waiting to kind of have a table in the main part, if somebody was at the table, but there's nobody at the table. So it's like, what do you and then why can't we even sit here? Why are we waiting? Like, what are you talking about? If somebody, like, what, they're only like a downloaded person would be doing that sort of thing. Just like the waitress that came up to me 3 steps in. Anybody normal would be like, sir, look, we don't want to get in any trouble. Just to smooth it, just to be nice. We hear there's stories about Pennsylvania regulators. We don't want to get in trouble. Can you do us a favor? We're thrilled to have your business. Just wear your mask, even if it's just a few steps inside the ropes. Just do it for us. And you know what? I would do it. Like, she's like getting in my face, like, where's your man? I mean, it's like these people are on a download. There's no other way to describe it. It's like, you will take me to Jabba now. I will take you to Jabba now. You serve your master well, and you will be rewarded. Jabba no bada. Yeah, it's like they're on a download. There's no other way to describe it. It's like Luke standing behind them saying, "Harass the customer about mask policy." I don't know. There's just no other way to explain the behavior of people. But Pam told me that story, and it reminded me of what happened with the waitress down here. It's called Marchwood Tavern. I don't even know what it's called. I haven't been back since. It's still open. Incredibly, it's still open. This happened today. Well, let's get the quick stuff out of the way first. Saw like many people driving around with their mask on by themselves in the car. That's been happening here in Pennsylvania for I don't know, almost a year now. People driving around, and it hasn't really gone down much. It's not that common. Once you see probably 1 out of 10 cars, you'll see somebody or people with masks on. Sometimes, hey, if it's two little old ladies next to each other, fine. If they want to, but people by themselves, you see that way more than you should, and it hasn't gone down. I saw a guy who was in his mid 20s, seemed to be fit, like he's just coming off a jog. He's walking his dog around the park with a mask. And there's nobody around, like a young guy. Like, what? You see, we still see all this stuff in Pennsylvania. I hope where you are in the United States, and I'm speaking to those in the United States, parts of Europe, of course, Australia are much worse. But I hope you're doing a little bit better. But there's no difference outside of Philadelphia than probably Connecticut and Boston and California. It's the worst of the worst in the United States. So, still, like, just to get through my list quickly here, still like tons of construction projects, whether it be infrastructure projects like digging up, I can't drive anywhere. I don't go anywhere except to Pam's, but every time I go to Pam's, it'll be like redirecting traffic. The flaggers will stop you. They're pulling up a water pipe or something. Tons of infrastructure just continues, and tons of building. Not as much here new homes anymore, but apartment complexes just go up everywhere. Apartments. And I was talking even in Greg, where it was more like tract homes or whatever, or carriage homes or whatever down in South Carolina. And we're like, where are all these people coming from to move to buy these places or to come in and pay $1,400 to $1,500 a rent. And I'm not talking about apartment buildings that have 40, 50 units. There's an apartment complex down in King of Prussia. It's a strange named town. It's a big mall. King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. They must have thousands of units. It's just monstrous off Sweetsford Boulevard, down outside of King of Prussia. And these are going up all over the place. And Greg's like, we're like, where are these people coming from that can just go in 1,000 units and pay $1,500 a month? Excuse me. So, the last story, though, well, I want to talk about the bikers because that's just funny. I said the construction is everywhere, the building is everywhere, but the reason I say that is there isn't one business. Excuse me. That's just real tough here with the cat. There isn't one business that has been more than 50% occupied for the last year. So every business has to at least be down 50, 70, 80%, and they all still stay in business, at least around here, but then everything else booms. You're not going to just put an apartment complex with 500 units on hold, and everything just continues to go forward in a very unnatural. The whole existence or reality to me is a reality breakdown. I don't try to really make sense of it anymore. I can just kind of notice it, or point out how bizarre it is. And in terms of figuring it out, I just don't care to do that anymore. So, talk about let's talk about the Harley. Pam, I help her out. She takes me to lunch, because I do a couple hours of work for her, whatever it may be. She take me to lunch, and we went to Fitzwater Station today, which is on the old canals, the part of old Phoenixville. And we were leaving, and here comes this loud ass Harley Davidson down the road, and with a muffler set to a 10 out of 10. Just people, you can set a Harley Davidson muffler in a certain way where it's almost damaging to your hearing. It's that overpowering loud. So here he comes with the woman wrapped around him. It's a bike for two, and a gigantic gigantic Trump flag flying off the back. And luckily we were leaving, and I'm not just, I wouldn't have, this guy was like an iron worker or whatever. I'm not the wimpiest guy in the world, but this is not a guy I'd want to arm wrestle against. But Pam will get me in trouble. She'll look at him funny or whatever, and like, well, who's he gonna come at? So anyway, we were leaving, and it's just 6'2", 240 pounds guy, monster gut, a double watermelon. He hasn't seen a gym. But this guy, you wouldn't, probably was packing with a carry permit. You're not somebody, he's just waiting to pick a fight with somebody looking at him wrong with a Biden sticker. That's the purpose of hanging a gigantic Trump flag off your Harley. But that's one of the, I was thinking, well, why is he still doing this so many months after the election? And it's bitterness, and like I said, he's dying for some little peep with a Biden sticker or Biden Harris sticker or whatever to look at him the wrong way. He wants a fight. It's Jack Nicholson. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. He wants a fight. He needs a fight. He's looking for it. He wants, Matt or Pam to look at him the wrong way. And, I'd love to talk to people like that at some point, and just to understand what the mindset is. I mean, just to understand, I just can't understand that vein, that vein of Trump supporter / Q anon. I don't understand. To me, they're also on a form of download, because there's no other way to explain it. He would tell you, if I could, say, "Sir, can I? You're going into the restaurant. I'm just coming out, and I do appreciate how you've tuned the muffler up on your hog. Can I ask you some questions about why you support President Trump?" You son, I'd be putting a fist down my mouth. But if I could talk to him, like if I could get in a shark cage and close the lid, like off the Great Barrier Reef, what they do for great whites, if I could get in a shark cage and I could talk to him on the outside of the cage, I could say, just I don't. I'm just humor me. What did he do? Like what did he was in there 4 years. What were the accomplishments? I mean, you talk about immigrants and things like that. Nothing's the wall. Nothing was done. Where's this list of why do you love him so much? It is like a download. There is no way to explain it. There is no list of accomplishments. There's nothing. Well, I mean, if any, not that anybody's new here, but we know why there's no list of accomplishments. I mean, presidents, there is no such thing as a president the way you understand it. They're just simply puppets that are told what to do and read teleprompters, and the same, no matter what party gets in, of course, the same system is in control and has always been in control. And I wonder what that fine gentleman that tuned his hog up to that level would say about that. He'd be a believer, and he probably would still believe that Trump's maneuvering for us. He's just waiting to strike or something, even though he's out of office. He's probably I don't know what they would say, but I'm just saying I've thought when he wrote up, I'm like I would just love to talk to get in the minds of these people to where they're coming from. But this was not the guy. He was just he would want to label me as a Biden supporter, as an avid reader of the Atlantic magazine, and he would just love to put his hands on me and start pummeling me as I walked outside of the Fitzwater station. So this was not a good idea for me today. But you just wonder where these people. I saw a truck at the Wawa about 2 weeks ago, and it was completely painted up. I mean, really professionally, not wrapped. I think it was painted Trump, like real professional logos, campaign stuff all over the truck. And you would think, well, what are you leaving it there for? Like, I don't know. I'm just ranting. You can't get inside these people's minds. On the other side, this also relates to bikers, but these are the leftist type bikers, which I don't understand. I don't understand the hardcore right Harley Davidson riding, Trump flag waving QAnon bikers, and I don't understand these leftist Atlantic magazine, Economist magazines reading bikers that I experienced this morning either. So I'm going down this road, real close to my house. It's not that busy, but there's cars. The cars go up to 40 miles an hour, and there are the seven bikers or so right in the middle of the road. Now these bikers, they all get tuned up with their yellow jerseys, thinking they're in the Tour de France, and they put their spandex on, and usually I see these. I don't want to say anything because some people might bike like that. So it's not. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. But when they get on their bikes, the type of biker that believes that they rule the world, it does bother me. Okay, really. And this morning I was thinking of Ben of vat_city. He's like, Matt, if when you road rage, or he used to be a driver. Like when I road rage, that's one for the not milk and zero for me. And you got to think of it that way. It wants you to road rage, and I almost did. I was like holding back. Okay, so you would think, okay, why don't you just bike? But it is a road for cars. Don't you want to be on the side of the road? And if anybody wants to see Puss a little bit better, Puss in Boots, Bootsy is around here somewhere. Bootsy, her tooth pulling was pushed back to next Tuesday because what happened to Cooper. She goes in Tuesday for the tooth pulling. But the bikers were instead of being off to the side, they're right smack in the middle of the road. Like they don't care. Like they just don't care. Like the road is for them. It's a road for cars. So I come up, and there's just seven. And this is not the type of bikers that like hardcore, moving at 35, 40 miles an hour. The guys that are in their mid 30s that just really take it seriously, like they could be in the Tour de France. These are a little older, 40, 45, 50, a couple 60-year-olds, all decked out, but they're not moving that fast, just 20 miles an hour, and right in the middle of the road. Now I look up, there's a light, quarter mile down the road, and it's red. So I'm thinking, this is obnoxious behavior. Just be right smack in the middle of the road, and I come behind them. They don't care that I'm back there. Don't look to move over. Nothing. And I'm like, okay, the light's red. What am I gonna do? I'd love to lay on the horn, but I'm thinking, okay, not milk one, Matt zero. I shouldn't do that. All that this is the crap that life throws at you that you have to be bigger than, overcome. But yeah, you get into the old modes of road rage and things that it's hard to break all habits, right? Especially when it's as obnoxious as people riding their bike 15 miles an hour right in the front of you with no care that there's other cars coming up. It's also very it's like a psychotic behavior because you're trusting the driver of the car. I could be coming up on meds. It could be some sort of drug, or have a six pack in me, or texting. Why would you trust me? See, There's reasons to move over anyway. Because why would you trust the drivers coming up that they're just going to see you? So it's still red, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not gonna. So we're approaching the light. It takes a while to change. I'm thinking, well, at the light they're going to move over. No, just stay right. And I'm like, okay, don't do it because they're not going to go right or left on this main road that I have to go on. They're going to go across to the road that's much less traveled. They're not going to go right or left and stay in front of me. Or obviously I would have laid on the horn or done something. I said, I'm not going to do it. It'll be not Nilk 1, Matt 0, as Ben at vat_city would say. So, light changed. They're all in front of me. They just, take their good old time and move across the road, and I'll just wait a few more seconds. But it's like, I just don't understand. There's a lot of bikers that have that mentality that we're just, bike. But the last time it happened to me, I did road rage. I did road rage. It was about, oh gosh, it was probably about a little bit less than a year and a half ago. There were two bikers were just side by side. Again, it's dangerous and stupid. Why would you even do that? And I couldn't get around. Now they were moving pretty good, but maybe 25 miles an hour. The road's definitely a 40. Most people go 45 or more. So I come up to them like, well, and this is just two of them. Why wouldn't they be? And this road's pretty busy. They're not in any way looking to move over, it's like this is like a psychotic behavior. So just why I'm even telling this, I don't know. Just last story, and then I'll wrap the video up, guys. Thanks for watching. I did I did pull around, get on the side of him, put the window down. I'm like, move over! What are you thinking? Like I road rage, and then after I'm more spiritually advanced being than a year. We've learned a lot in a year and a half. A lot in a year and a half. And even but even then I knew better. I'm like, shouldn't have done that or whatever. This reality is going to test you at every turn. You have to overcome it and be bigger. But again, the bikers, they do. There's a lot of these types of bikers around here. You'll see groups go by 10. Once they get, like the critical masses with bikers, usually once they get about 8 in their group, 7 or 8, they get bold. Like they own the road. Then we're going to be a big bike pack and cars. Oh, this road's for us. The cars you don't need to get where you're going. We take precedent, and there's probably have all sorts of Agenda 2020 and Agenda 2031 laws that back them up that the bikers have precedent or whatever. So I don't know. It's just something I wanted to mention at the end of this rant. And thanks for. Oh, did I say? I did say there'd be some good news at the end. Yeah, one thing to remember, guys, and I need to talk more about this going forward. It's very, very important from a mindset of being very positive or depressed during all of this. Is no matter if you are I'm not saying you, but anybody is sitting back waiting for this to play out, waiting, just okay, we'll just see how this goes. Let's see. It's a losing mindset. It's a depression mindset, and the reality will disappoint. It's like you absolutely have to have a goal and be moving towards it. So my goal will be something along the lines of, once this cement completely dries on how society will look, and it's pretty much drying now, then I'm not going to live my life with get a T-shirt that says "Unveed, Unaction Jackson Leper" here. Unaction Jacksonated leper. I'll get a big T-shirt and worry about medical passports. I will just have a plan to. One of two things will happen. There will be some part of the world somewhere that simply will not be doing this sort of thing. People already sent me videos from Yemen, like, look, Matt, we're not doing anything in Yemen. We're just going about it. I don't know if I want to go to Yemen in the middle of the Saudi war, but there's got to be a few places in the world where the one world system is just kind of leaving them alone. It's far fewer than we thought. That's the scope of this thing, and their reach is much, much more than we ever could have possibly imagined in terms of a true one world system. But I will go, my plan will be to go off and live there, wherever that might be, or it is possible, where we get together somewhere in the United States. Um, how many people do you need to be friends with or to have around you as like-minded people? I mean, there's in this our little wing of the truth community, there's tens of thousands. In this channel, there's tens of thousands. So it wouldn't be impossible to, like, there's two Rust Belt cities, and we're just gonna just thousands of us go move in there. And not that we're gonna be friends with everybody. There would be a camaraderie. But we'd just live our life. There'd be a certain critical mass where you know there wouldn't you could we could live life normally to a degree. But the point is, I don't know how this is going to play out, or what path to take on this. But you have to have a plan. You have to be moving, or mentally moving towards something, not waiting to see if the system is going to correct itself, or waiting if people are going to wake up, if you know what I mean. You always have to be like, okay, this is what I don't care what the world does. Here's where I'm going to be 3 years from now. Or this is a picture, the situation you're going to be in, the intention, however you create it, in the United States, carving out a pocket of the United States, or somewhere overseas, or whatever. But that's something to shoot for, and you can manifest that and create that. Where just waiting for the see who's going to wake up, or waiting for, at some point, just I've been doing this for months. At some point, people are going to just refuse to put their mask on. No, no, they won't. I think we're beyond. I just think we've crossed the lines. I just think the cement is pretty much hardened. So you have to have, even if you have kids that are just just going into high school or whatever, you can have that. The plan can be 5, 8, 10 years out, but you still need something. Where what do you want to be? Where do you want to be, with what kind of people and what type of situation? And unfortunately, for most of us, to do any of these sorts of things, I'm attached to my house. I've spent tens of thousands of hours working, over 20 years, doing all sorts of stuff. I get attached when I put that kind of effort and work in, even cutting firewood and stuff. I don't want to move out, but there's just, this is like living in California here. And if this is the way they're setting the world up to be like this, there's just no way. At some point, I will, I'll, I'll define or solidify, the plan, and then work towards it, instead of just sitting back and waiting. And that's the only way to get through this sort of situation mentally. Thanks, guys.